2020 didn't exactly pan out the way we wanted it to, did it? But we did get one thing that was promised to us, a Nolan blockbuster. Tenet saw a huge build-up to its release and then some extended build-up thanks to the theatre lockdown. It finally released widely in theatres, and now it's time for home viewers to feast on this Nolan masterpiece. Nolan would like you to bring your PhD physics books to theatres to watch Tenet, but we've got to do what we can. So here goes 10 awesome moments from Tenet that left us, let's say confused and impressed at the same time. Make sure you've already watched the film because this video is filled with some awesome spoilers. Nolan films are marked by strong opening scenes. Remember those iconic scenes from The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises? Yep, Nolan likes to go bold, and the opening opera siege in Tenet was surely beautiful. The scene totally set the mood of the film and basically confirmed that turning off your brain for a couple of hours may not be the best way to enjoy a Nolan film. Our protagonist is part of the armed force to take out the robbers who are planning to blow up the opera. It's not just a highly tense rescue mission, it has Christopher Nolan written all over it. The mission goes sideways, covers are compromised, the Russian mob goes around in their brutal ways, and our protagonist is left alone with one word: Tenet.
I can't let you think you've won.
Don't spoil this moment, kid.
I'm letting you go to your grave thinking we're coming with you.
It's no secret that Christopher Nolan films aren't big on strong women characters, but for what it's worth, Tenet does have a couple of women who play important parts in the movie. The story basically moves forward or backward since it's a Nolan film, thanks to Kat. She's the protagonist's driving force, and she's the one who takes out the villain of the story. At its core, Kat and her arms dealer husband Sator share a toxic, dysfunctional relationship. Kat hates his guts and wants to take her son and leave him. Sator thinks if he can't have her, no one can. All her life, Sator had his hold over her and kept her a hostage, but not in this moment.
I'm the vengeful bitch you scarred on the outside.
Kat plays her part like a dutiful soldier, but her hatred and vengeance finally flooded her resistance, and bam! A bold end to Sator and his world-ending ways. It's so cool how Kat got everything planned in no time and then saved her ass while influencing herself. Did it make sense? Well, it's basic Nolan stuff. Martin Scorsese hates theme park superhero movies with bloated CGIs and mindless action, but if there's one guy who truly likes old school filmmaking, it's Christopher Nolan. The guy's so fond of using real props instead of CGI that he crashed an actual frigging plane into a building. The airplane crash was an important way to start the fire, not the Billy Joel kind, but a fire inside the building so that the security kicks in. Such a big explosion is sure to attract a lot of eyeballs, and in come gold bars to the rescue. The entire scene was immaculately executed, and the whole thing came across dynamic in its nature. Poor plane though, died a valiant death shitting gold. Tenet characters live in a world devoid of elevators. So how do they reach the biggest arms dealer in India? By reverse bungee jumping to the top floor, of course. I mean, that sounds like a totally normal thing to do, doesn't it? Neil and the protagonist need to know about the inverted ammunition, so they're going to make a bold entrance. The entire reverse bungee jumping concept works like a charm, and we actually get to see Robert Pattinson and John David Washington doing a holy hybrid of Peter Parker / Ethan Hunt by themselves. The scene was also extraordinary in the context of a Nolan film. The arms dealer actually turns out to be, and get this, the man's wife, Priya. Priya feeds a lot of crucial information regarding Sator's whereabouts, and our heroes just casually bungee jump back to the ground. No biggie. For a world still reeling from Dark Season 3, the Freeport fight scene is just another day in the office. This is the first time we see inverted people coming to this world and fighting. As a result, Nolan gives us the exact thing we're looking for. An awesome fight sequence that left us impressed, but also confused as hell. The protagonist fights the inverted masked man, and let's just say, it's one of the weirdest, but somehow coolest fight scenes that we've seen this year. Neil knew who the masked man was, but figured it would be too much for the protagonist to make sense of. After all, he just beat himself to a pulp and was planning to kill himself as well. The Freeport fight happens again, like the entire thing occurs again an hour later, because it's a Christopher Nolan film and time is a social construct created by watch companies to sell us overpriced watches. Nonetheless, the second time round, it made a lot of sense. Like, a lot of sense.
Try him, see if he's got a grenade.
Speaking of making sense, here comes Neil's loop that was one of the most confusing things in the entire movie. Now, this is confusing, but just stay with us, okay? During the final battle, Neil is in the inverted blue team, but he changes sides to help the red team with his knowledge. Just before the protagonist and Ives can reach ground zero, Quentin shoots Ives and plans to shoot the protagonist as well. Now, there's a dead body lying on the ground even before they arrived, carrying the same orange thread seen by the protagonist in Kiev and during the temporal pincer movement. So he just magically comes back alive, inverted, takes the bullet for the protagonist, and fights Quentin. It turns out to be Neil who's fulfilling his loop of helping the protagonist get to the code, and frankly, it came out of nowhere. Okay, so another super weird scene that didn't make much sense initially, but was super awesome to watch. The car chase is again one scene shown 2 times as a loop. The protagonist tries to one-up Sator with the plutonium-241, but Sator has his wife as hostage. Sator uses temporal pincer to send an inverted team from the future who are always ahead thanks to their knowledge. Sator was destined to get the plutonium, and he did. The protagonist tried to reverse the events by inverting himself despite Neil's wisdom. His ignorant ass realizes that his own self was inside the car between his and Sator's car, and it crashed just like it was supposed to, and Sator got his thing, just what he was supposed to get. Anyway, the car chase scene was trippy as hell, especially the second time. Okay, now I'm not going to throw an entire university degree in physics at you, but the turnstile scene is one of the best moments in Tenet if you actually understood what the hell happened there. So the turnstile is the device that does the inversion. It reverses the entropy of a subject, thereby inverting the flow of time. Sator captures the protagonist and takes him through the color-coded turnstile, symbolizing forward and backward time. Sator shoots Cat with an inverted bullet and extracts information from the protagonist. He then goes back in his past, informs everything, and the whole thing is played out again. It's super confusing, but it is fascinating to watch. As Laura says in the beginning of the film,
"Don't try to understand it. Feel it."
You know what, Laura? We're just gonna do that. The entire ending and climax of Tenet was just glorious. We finally see Sator's home, the Forgotten City Stalsk 12. It's an entire turnstile, and the battle also reveals the meaning of the palindrome Tenet. 2 teams are divided into red and blue following the temporal pincer movement. The blue team is the inverted one with the knowledge of the future. They attack with 10 minutes forward and 10 minutes backwards, creating Tenet. The goal is to stop Sator's plan for the algorithm and the end of the world, so they're running against time, or they're running with time, or over time. Anyway, something to do with time. Even if you don't go full geek on the entire formula, the action sequences are pretty rad. It reminds us of Dunkirk's awesome fight sequences, but in yellow. A lot of things happen, there's a lot of tension, a fight, Neil changing sides and then again following his loop, and the whole thing finally crumbling down. The end battle is just glorious. Neil is actually recruited by the protagonist in the future, and that's why he's always ahead of things. Neil's journey ends here, but for the protagonist of the present, it's only just the beginning. The last conversation between Neil and the protagonist comes out of nowhere, and it's just shocking in every sense of the word.
Leaving another pass in the fabric of this mission.
Do it before the boy comes out.
That's your idea of mercy.
If we thought Neil's secrets were too big to swallow for us, the end scene just made us totally numb. The protagonist has figured out that it's actually he who started Tenet in the future to stop people from pushing the grandfather paradox. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically the question: if you go back in time and kill your grandfather, would you be alive? The future generation is a thankless bunch and thinks it's the fault of the present or their past. Tenet aims to stop those people and Sator from destroying this world, and Priya is also part of it. She's out there just tying up some loose ends because Kat already knows too much about Tenet. Just before Priya can kill Kat, the protagonist enters and drops the absolute bombshell on Priya and us. All because Kat deserves to live with her son. Whew, what a way to end the film.
I realized I wasn't working for you. We've both been working for me. I'm the protagonist.
I know what you're thinking. Tenet is basically a 1-hour film that Nolan made us watch twice. But I can't complain actually. It had so many time-bending narratives and theoretical physics that it took hours to unravel everything in it. But this is the bottom line. Christopher Nolan has given us the most Nolanist film of his career. It's confusing, it's complex, but at the same time, it's grand and it's fascinating. Tell you what, it even leaves a bit of room for a sequel. Like, who is Neil in the future? Could he be Kat's son, Max? And what happens in the future, actually? For this, we need to consult a physics teacher. And frankly, my brain hurts just thinking about it. What's your favorite scene from Tenet? Tell us in the comments section. And let us know your interpretation of such a complex movie. Like and share the video with fellow confused friends and help them to make sense of Tenet. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the TV Regent. I'll see you next time.
Wow.